Breath of the Wild is very vague about what actually happened 10,000 years ago. We know Ganon appeared, he was defeated, and then sealed away thanks to the hero, the sealing power, support from the Guardians and the Divine Beast, but that's really about it. Thing is, looking back on it now with more information thanks to creating a champion and the hints we got from the Breath of the Wild 2 teaser trailer, it's really making me rethink everything I thought I knew. However, before we get into it, I want to quickly ask those of you watching, if you're not already subscribed, consider doing so. I'm trying to reach 100,000, and normally I do wait to the end of the video to ask, but people say doing it here first works better, so I'm trying it out. Anyway, moving on. Now, I'm pretty sure this isn't a completely original idea, but I started looking at the tapestry that's used to tell the story, and it seems so obvious now. The hero. The design of the hero looks nothing like Link, and it's not like this is a stylistic choice either. Zelda and Calamity Ganon both look like a rough approximation of themselves, but the hero, well, let's just say the authenticity of this being Link can be called into question. So I decided to do a little bit of digging to see what I could find, and after countless hours of research, I've come to the conclusion the figure depicted in the tapestry isn't Link at all. In fact, it's Ganon! Nah, I'm just kidding. Although that would be something if it was true. Believe it or not, that's a theory that I've seen floating around on the internet here and there. So I think I can debunk that pretty quick. Firstly, Ganon fighting Ganon doesn't really make any sense. Plus, we know from the lore that only one Gerudo male can be born every 100 years, which makes a scenario like this near impossible. Now, you could argue that Calamity Ganon isn't Gerudo, but that's also debunked because Urbosa mentions that Calamity Ganon used to be a Gerudo, so pretty much confirms that the hero couldn't be Ganon.
It was written that Calamity Ganon once adopted the form of a Gerudo. And that will make this victory all the more satisfying. I like that. Now I can take this personally.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean the hero is Link either. After all, it still doesn't really look like Link. At this point, it's worth mentioning that there's really nothing in the lore that suggests the hero always has to be Link, or even has to be a Hylian. It's just that in every single canonical game, it's always been Link and it's always been a Hylian, so track records and such would just cause you to assume that the hero has to be a Hylian named Link. But for the sake of this theory, let's suppose the original hero wasn't Link, or wasn't even a Hylian. If you watch my previous video where I go in depth about where I think the story of Breath of the Wild 2 is going, you might remember I mentioned the Zonai. Although in that video I mispronounced it the entire time as the Zoani because I wrote it incorrectly in my script, but it's Zonai, and I'm well aware of that thanks to all the comments. Anyways, yes, the Zonai. Now, not a lot is known about the Zonai. Creating a champion gives you a brief description calling them barbaric in nature, skilled in magic, and that they hail from the Faron region. They have ruins all over Hyrule, and their telltale signatures are spirals and dragons. A lot of that doesn't really seem important until you start looking at certain design elements from Breath of the Wild. Let's start with color since I think it's the most basic. The Zelda series has always used color to represent things, especially things relating to the goddesses or parts of the Triforce. In Ocarina of Time, we see the three goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Faeror, leaving trails of red, blue, and green light behind them respectively. In The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, the pearls you need to collect are also red, blue, and green. Generally speaking, for the Zelda series, red represents power, blue, wisdom, and lastly, green, of course, courage. These, of course, being the three pieces of the Triforce, and most importantly, a color to represent those who wield it. The relation in Breath of the Wild for two of those three colors has always made sense. Red represents power, it's also the same color as Malice, and more or less represents Ganon. Blue is for wisdom. We see it all over Breath of the Wild in the forms of the Sheikah like the slate, the shrines, and the towers. And most importantly though, all of those things connect directly back to Zelda as she was studying them, learning and increasing her understanding and wisdom in the process. That leaves us with green, and that's the problem because outside of just nature, green doesn't exactly show up very much in Breath of the Wild. In fact, one of the only other instances of the color green is seen in the dragon that guards the Faron region, Farosh. It's also worth mentioning that the other two dragons, Dinral and Naydra, are also red and blue respectively. Now I'm bringing this up because remember what I said about the Zonai? They live in the Faron region, worshipped Farosh, and for all intents and purposes, the color green would match up with them fairly well. In my last theory, I mentioned that the hand we see holding Ganondorf back is likely a product of the Zonai's magic. it's also emitting a green energy, and later we see Link able to absorb it. Those are very important aspects. For one, Link being able to absorb it makes so much sense because he's the hero of this world. As such, he should have some key defining color like Zelda and Ganon. Green also just so happens to represent courage, which keeps in line with the rest of the Zelda series, having the hero be courageous or have that piece of the Triforce. Not only that, if we take a look at the tapestry again, we can see the arm of the hero from 10,000 years ago, and lo and behold, his arm is also green, which I think is a very solid connection that we never would have noticed until they showed us this teaser at E3. Now, the design of the hero in the tapestry still looks very strange and unlike anything we're used to seeing Link wear. However, there is one outfit in Breath of the Wild that can make Link look somewhat similar to that figure in the tapestry, and that's the Barbarian armor set. That might not seem like a big deal until you look at the armor's description in-game, where it states the armor was once favored by an ancient warlike tribe from the Faron region. Sounds a lot like the Zonai to me. Considering you get the armor in the Faron region, it almost confirms it. Plus, if you look at the tapestry, the figure is kinda green, or almost like the skin is green. Since we don't know what the Zonai look like, it's impossible to say for sure, but I don't think it's too out of the question to assume they might have had green skin. So perhaps 10,000 years ago, the hero of Hyrule wasn't a Hylian at all. Perhaps back then the hero we needed was a Zonai, and he used his combative skill, magic, along with help from the Divine Beast and the Guardians to take down Calamity Ganon. You might be thinking, well, what about the Master Sword? And that's something I was stuck on for a while as well. We know it's still the Sword of Evil's Bane, but the thing is, it doesn't look like it's the same sword as the one in the tapestry, and the game seems to not really care too much about it either. In fact, it's not even a requirement to beat the game like in past Zelda games. But I think I do have an answer for that. If we again look at creating a champion, it more or less states that Calamity Ganon isn't really Ganon himself, but more of just his pure raw energy manifested into a corporeal form. As such, it's likely the Master Sword wouldn't really be needed since it's not actually Ganon or Ganondorf we're fighting, it's just his spirit at that point. Looking at the tapestry and even comparing that to what we see at the end of the game, it's clear we aren't exactly fighting the real physical form of Ganon here. And since the game itself doesn't even require anything but light arrows to finish the fight, I think it's safe to say the Master Sword might not have even been used in the fight 10,000 years ago. Instead, it was a powerful Zonai warrior equipped with a magic arm that he sacrificed to hold Ganondorf back, and the power of that arm can be absorbed by the next hero, passing on his courage. Wait, before you go, I'm coming to you from the future because I've got a very important announcement to make. I've got a Discord server. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically a voice and text chat client, kind of like Skype, but it doesn't induce vomiting. I've actually had this server for a while, but I'm opening it up to the public. Previously, it was exclusive to my Twitch subscribers only, but after doing some organization and getting things ready, I've decided to allow anyone to join. So down in the description will be a Discord link to join my server, which I've aptly named The Milk Bar. You might have noticed about a week and a half ago I did sort of a soft opening just to test things out, and I think both myself and the mods that I put in place have worked out most of the major bugs, and we're ready to open the doors permanently. So click the link down below and join the already active community we've got going on there. We've got rooms for matchmaking, we've got rooms to talk about Zelda and Breath of the Wild 2, and we've got rooms for memes. So if that's something you're interested in, check out the link down below. Anyways, I gotta get back to editing the rest of this video, so hope to see you guys soon. So, all that being said, what do you guys think? Do you think it's possible that we had a hero who wasn't Hylian and wasn't Link? Does this theory make any sense at all? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, a like rating would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. Once again though guys, my name is Matt, and I'll catch you in the next one.